Creative juices flowing, baby. Our people rise from the dust to the sky. Past, present, and future, here's where it collides. From the roots to the stars, yeah, we carry the flame. One voice, one story, one powerful name. Our people rise from the dust to the sky. Past, present, and future, here's where it collides. From the roots to the stars, yeah, we carry the flame. One voice, one story, one powerful name. Yeah. We just some podcasters.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Our People Past, Present, and Future podcast, where we unite the loose ends of our story and we bridge that gap. I'm Coco.
And I'm Daddy Too Shotty, babe.
We created this podcast to get down to our root. Because what, Daddy? Without our root, we can't grow. Now listen, we're talking about before the ships, before the shackles, before the systems. We were empires, we were builders, scientists, philosophers, healers, astronomers, and storytellers.
But we never really hear much about that part of us. They taught us our pain, the trauma that we endured, and the chains that they put us in, but not our glory. But today, that changes.
Now we starting at the root. This episode is called Before the Change, the rich history of our people before the takeover, and we're diving into the stories you did not hear in school.
And this is our very first podcast. And it will be a 3-part series where we talk about the Great Zimbabwe, Nubia, and our very first topic, Mansa Musa and the Mali Empire. And we'll be sharing stories of ancient Africa and who we were before the Europeans ever even arrived.
And that's the white people. Because if we don't know who we were, we can't fully know who we are or who we can be.
For sure. So today we're talking about somebody who had more money than Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and Donald Trump combined.
Dang.
We're talking about Mansa Musa and the Mali Empire. Now, we hop on this topic because we feel like it's important to celebrate Black excellence. Basically, when we hear about billionaires, we never really see us. But today, we would like to highlight the greatness of this man for inspiration to all Black and brown society.
So the Mali Empire started to grow between 900 and 1200 AD. Europe was still in the Dark Ages at that time, of course. So Mali was known as a trading empire in gold, salt, and they excelled in education and navigation. Mansa was born in 1280 and became emperor in 1312.
Right, and how Mansa Musa became emperor? Well, it started with his brother, Mansa Abu. And I'm saying Mansa Abu because I really don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think it's Bakar. But Mansa Abu was the Mansa of Mali before Musa. He was known for having interest in what lies beyond the Atlantic Ocean. So he set out with a fleet of ships and never returned, which gave Mansa Musa the throne. Mansa ruled alongside his wife, Anari Kunat. During those times, emperors had one main wife, which would be the queen, and other wives that did not hold the same title. But they definitely held something else.
So once Mansa took over the throne, he implemented reforms to help improve the lives of his people. He turned Mali into a Muslim empire, and he created an Islamic justice system. Now, this didn't come without backlash, considering most people in Mali were not Muslim and they believed in African ancestral beliefs, which we're gonna, discuss on a later podcast topic. Mansa ordered that Islam would be the religion of the land, but he did not force anyone unwillingly to become a Muslim if they did not wish to. Why? It would spark a rebellion. Yeah, he was known to be a loving emperor of his people. His stance on allowing African ancestral beliefs were free people are more productive than those under duress.
Right, and throughout his time, he was known to have a heavy bodyguard unit made up of his own personal slaves. Yes, back then, slavery was still present. And we just want everybody to know before we even continue the podcast that no form of slavery is okay because we are going to dive into it.
Yeah. Now, during this time, the form of slavery was different. Slaves were not treated cruelty, and they could often rise in the ranks without being discriminated against. They were given important tasks to fulfill, such as a spokesman or a griot, which is an oral historian, and this is where most of the stories came from back in the day, and they were griots that wrote as well.
Slavery would later manifest into a dehumanizing way by the Europeans and Arabs. The Mali Empire had a prohibition on any mistreatment of both enemy combatants and slaves. Mansa also knew that converting the land to Islam would create more union with other nations of the land. This was part of him being a skilled diplomat.
Or now, how Mansa became rich? He was born into wealth because his father and his brother both ruled Mali before him. Mali controlled important trade routes, including those that carried gold and salt. He had access to all the gold mines and controlled the flow of gold in and out of the empire. He used his wealth to benefit his people and spread the word of Islam, establishing strong relationships with close kingdoms. This would happen on his pilgrimage to Mecca, which takes us into our next topic, Dottie.
Now, the Hajj trip is a trip that all Muslims make to Mecca and require them to make this trip once in their lifetime. Mansa's journey took him through the deserts of North Africa, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, going through 9,000 miles. This journey took over a year for them to complete.
Crazy. So he took over 60,000 people,
Oof.
including 12,000 slaves, courtiers, which were people of his royal court, state dignitaries, servants, soldiers, and scholars. He even took his own wife, which wasn't common back in that time. And no one really knows why he took his trip to Mecca during this time, but we have a couple of theories.
Yeah, but just picture a king saying, "Hey, look, I'm about to go to Mecca. Matter of fact, I'm about to take my whole city with me. 60,000 people. That's basically the whole city, ain't it?"
Yes. Let's pack up the camels, the cattle. We taking this trip.
But yeah, for sure, like Nicole was saying, or Coco was saying, I'm sorry. Like Coco was saying, is that, there are some different theories of why he took the trip to Mecca, and we're going to go ahead and dive into the first one. The first theory is Mansa Musa accidentally killed his own mother, Nana Gogo. Not much is really known about his mother or his wife. According to Mansa Musa's lore, a lore being a person of traditional knowledge, her death was a freak accident caused by him. He felt so guilty, he turned to the Islamic cleric for advice, in which the cleric advised for him to head off to Mecca and seek sanctuary with the Prophet, so that the Prophet could intervene on his behalf with Allah.
So the second theory is that a soothsayer, which is someone who tells the future, told him a day to start his journey. He told Mansa he should wait until a Saturday that would fall on the 12th day of the month, which would mean he had to wait 9 months to go.
For sure. And Mansa left in October at the end of the harvest season in Mali. During his journey, Musa's birthday arrived. Party! Sorry, I'm getting off. Which no one really knows his death date or his birth date, but it had to be after October.
So in celebration of his birthday in the middle of the desert, 50 cattle were slaughtered. The horns from those cattle were used in the feast, and they were dried and hollowed out. They stuffed the horns with precious stones, herbal ingredients, and pieces of the Quran scriptures. These were used as talismans and charms to combat against evil spirits.
Now, where did y'all hear that from? Now, this is a form of hoodoo back in those days. This was a mixture of African ancestral beliefs with aspects of Islam religion attached to it, which is forbidden. The same way hoodoo is used in Christianity and is forbidden. Because they were traveling through the desert, they left after evening and rest throughout the day.
So we're going to get into a little fun fact. So going through the desert, some of Mansa Musa's entourage were bitten by snakes. Some people died while others lived. The ones that survived, they were honestly in bad condition. A scholar they picked up along the way that wanted to travel to Mecca said he knew how to cure the sick from a snake bite.
For sure, and he instructed Mansa Musa to kill 12 camels and put the body parts of where the snake had bitten the people into the camel's stomach. The acid in the stomach killed the venom, and those people were able to survive. Mansa was so astounded by his intellect, he made him a part of his council.
Crazy. So during the trip to Mecca, Mansa Musa stopped through several cities. Most notably is Egypt. As a king who was visiting the area, he was immediately a guest of the hierarchy. Gifts were given on both sides as a sign of hospitality. He gave so much gold to the Egyptians, from the people in the palace to the common people. He became known as a humanitarian in the land. Also, the amount of gold he gifted caused a severe inflation in the region.
And I want you guys to know that Mansa Musa did this every place he went.
Yeah, it wasn't just Egypt.
Yeah, he left us with over 24,000 pounds of gold. And when he was in Egypt, the value of gold decreased, leading to a massive drop in its worth for over a decade. For 10 years, one person coming there caused
Drop everything.
for 10 years. That is some wild stuff, man. You cannot make this shit up. But during his time there, Mansa Musa temporarily became an additional head of state in Egypt, next to the Sultan himself. Musa enjoyed Egypt because of the latest developments in science and mathematics.
Yeah.
Egypt was advanced. It was a great center of a learned scholar like Musa, and he stayed for 3 months in total before he resumed his pilgrimage. They're just kind of like, yo, man, this place so lit, man. I think I'm about to sit here and chill for a second. I like this.
Yeah, like traveling through the desert now with camels and cattle. So before he left Egypt, he was informed that he would have officials to help protect and guide his caravan to Mecca. The Sultan also made sure that the military leaders in the region were aware of Mansa and his entourage and were told they needed to look after him, which made the second part of his trip way easier. It's believed that Mansa Musa arrived in Mecca between 1324 and 1325.
It is also believed that Mansa Musa was in Mecca for 12 days enjoying the Hajj. They wore all white, and he made sure to take off his gold jewels, as Muslims are expected to be humble and modest in Mecca, even if they are a powerful king. Also to note, while he was in Mecca, he asked authorities if he could take direct descendants of Muhammad with him, as he wanted them to teach Islam back in his own kingdom. Yeah.
So initially the authorities would not allow it, but eventually they stated if anyone wanted to go, they could, but they would not force them to. So due to his generosity and ensuring their futures in Mali, he convinced 4 descendants to go.
Alright, so by the time that Mansa Musa had left Mecca, he returned back to Egypt before he decided to make his trip back home. One of the reasons was because he was actually flat broke. Can you picture somebody who left with 24,000 pounds of gold on camels on the way back had to stop from Egypt because he was flat broke? Which led him to getting a loan in Cairo for him and his people to make it back. They had a rough trip back from Mecca to Cairo, including getting lost and members becoming separated from the main group. There were also bandits, and anyone who lingered too far away from the group was ambushed and forced into slavery. It was a lot different with them going and them coming back.
Yeah, like you just going to use the bathroom. Next thing you know, you done got snatched up.
I ain't lying. You try to go fish for some of your people, and next thing you know, you didn't.
Try to get a little dinner for everybody, and you gone. They don't know where you be. So Siraj was the financier that gave Musa the loan, knowing he had more than enough money to pay him back once he arrived at his kingdom. But to ensure Siraj and his son decided to take the trip back home with them, unfortunately, Siraj died along the way. Musa also received news that the city of Gayo had surrendered to his empire, so he decided to make a stop there Or going back.
Before I say the next thing, I just want to enlighten everybody that when Siraj and his son decided to take the trip to Mecca, and Siraj unfortunately had died, there were a little bit of backlash surrounding it in Cairo, because they knew that Mansa Musa had owed Siraj money, and they thought that it was some type of malicious intent. But his son, good thing that his son had came, because his son was able to vouch for Musa and say, like, my dad died or something else. So, I just wanted to highlight that and put that in there, And just like Coco has said, on the way back, they also received news that Gaio had surrendered to the Mali Empire. And what he did with Gaio is that he would later build several projects in the city, including the Gaio Mosque, which can still be visited today. When he arrived at Gaio, the king willingly agreed to hand over his sons as royal hostages.
Crazy.
This was done to ensure that Gaio would not rebel against Mali. And I also want to highlight something on that as well. Like, you got to understand that they were royal hostages, so they wasn't mistreated in any type of way. They were treated like royalty, but they just had to go back to the Mali Empire.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Timbuktu, which is another city he took over coming back from his trip to Mecca. Mansa renovated the city and allowed it to become a major trading post during this time, also making it a focal point in education. He built mosques, universities, and other cultural centers in Timbuktu. He centered the learnings around all the things he learned on his way to Mecca.
And I think that's what a real king would do. The things that he actually learned, and project that onto his people, even the new people that have arrived, and even the people that's back in Mali. And Musa returned to Mali around 1325. His goal was actually centered around strengthening the Islamic influence, because he had just came back from Mecca. And he started making changes, although some people in his kingdom still practice ancestral beliefs. Musa had become dedicated to Muslim at this time. So even though there was still African ancestral belief practices, he made efforts for the people in Mali to study the Quran. They also instilled Friday night prayers, build more local mosques, and much more.
Honestly, Musa didn't live long after his pilgrimage. His official death date is unknown, with most saying he died between 1332 and 1337. The most common belief is 1337. According to the griot, he was not sick and his death was abrupt and sudden. Questionable.
Most of the research that I found was that he passed of natural causes at the age of 57. Historians have always questioned Musa's death for a while now. Mansa Musa's son Magan replaced him, but was an ineffective leader. He unfortunately passed around 1341. Then he was replaced by his uncle, Mansa Musa's brother. Though he was a better king than Mansa Musa's son, he was not well liked by the kingdom for unknown reasons. The Mali Empire began to decline not long after his death.
Across the span of world history, countless empires have risen and fallen, leaving behind legacies that are difficult to define. Mansa Musa was the 10th master of the Mali Empire. Although there is not much known about his life, what is known is epic in and of itself.
Thank y'all for watching. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can email us at ourpeople369@gmail.com. Send us stories or interesting topics that you will want to hear about.
Also, we're on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at ourpeople_podcast. So till next time, we'll see y'all for part 2, where we'll be diving into the Nubian Empire. Thank y'all again.